The following program was produced by an independent community producer. The opinions expressed do not necessarily reflect those of the ECAT staff or board of directors.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Topic Time with Harrison Young. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Topic Time with Harrison Young. I cannot believe, but this is as of tomorrow, it's the final week of August. And I have hopefully 2 shows next week. I'll definitely have one, and I'm hoping that my tech guy from the other location comes back from his vacation in Colorado, and we'll have 2. But we got to work on tonight's show first. I have an awesome guest down in New Jersey. This is my 6th show to that awesome state this year. What a stronghold for Topic Time Nation New Jersey has become. But before we get to him, I've got to read these incredible underwriters. Got a few tonight, and then we will commence per usual. So we have One Good Credit in Brockton. We have 111 Tattoo Collective in Brockton. We have Tom Auto in Middleborough. We have John's Greenhouses and Florist Shop in Brockton. We have Auto Town Auto Glass and Auto Body in Abington. We have Sweezy Fence Erectors in Whitman. We have South Shore Market in Pembroke. We have New England Floorscapes in Middleborough. We have Pembroke Radiator in Pembroke. We have the Messy Bun Salon, Hair Salon in Middleborough. They're new. We have Crazy Axe's Rec Center in Hanover. We have the Auto Shop in Hanover. Thanks, Ed Rooney. We have Porter's Pub in Rockland. They're new. We have Rodney's Kitchen in Halifax. We have Eli's Auto Care in Taunton. We have Genuine's Inspection in Middleborough. We have the Main Ingredient Just Good Food in Middleborough. We have Carver Jewelers, Ronald Darwin Liley, Delano Goldsmiths in Carver. We have the Hanover House of Pizza in Hanover. Man, great Sicilian pizza, Greek salads. Wonderful people working there, and they deliver. We have Lynch's Towing Auto Cycle and Truck Center in Brockton. 1 number for towing, 1 number for projects. Always looking for new scrap metal wheels, anything my pal Lynchy in Brockton can handle. He does it all. We have Salon Giovanni in Marshfield. We have the Hanover Sugar Hill Bakery in Hanover. They're a new one. We have Bulldog Sports Cards in Middleborough. We have Kingston Auto Body in Kingston. We have Grant's Rental in Bridgewater. We have DNS Auto Works and Collision Specialists in Abington on Route 58. We have the Doggy Boutique, all beat professional grooming for dogs and cats, run by my great next-door neighbor, Debbie Siddell in Brockton. We have the Gun Runner LLC, the Second Amendment Freedom Store in Middleborough. We have Easton Fitness and the Village Shops in Northeastern. We have RW Carpet and Flooring in Norton, covering floors for 50 years. And we have Joe's Diner in Taunton. I want to thank you guys very much. And now I'm going to introduce Mr. Steve Cooper. He's in Cherry Hill, New Jersey. And I think he maybe even know the song about Mary Hill, who liked to hang out at Cherry Hill Park late after dark. Remember that one?
Yeah, I do. And I Cherry Hills, we're right near Philadelphia. That's where we're at. We're 15 minutes from Philly.
Oh, you're right on the state line. Okay. And that is there really a Cherry Hill Park? You know that's quite a song from 1969. But you do know it. And do you have a park called Cherry Hill Park in their town?
Yeah, we have Cherry Hill Park. You know, Cherry Hill changed a lot. I grew up here, but I moved to I was in LA for 20 years. But when you come back, everything starts disappearing. So
okay, I understand. We're going to talk all about that. Now, from what I understand, you're a podcaster and a comedian. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Doing my podcast, CooperTalk, for 12 years.
Okay.
971 episodes. Closing in on 1,000.
Yeah, I'm probably in that range too. I could be. I've been doing this is my 13th year now of doing Topic Time, so it's probably in that range. I've sort of lost count of the episodes, but if I took the average number of episodes I've done since August 18th of 2010 when I began it, and then started doubling it in the fall of 2018, I'd probably come to somewhere between 600 and 1,000 shows too. But that's pretty good that you have an exact count of your podcast, which is incredible. Obviously, you at the beginning of my show in 2010, I didn't know how far I was going to go with it. I didn't even know what the strategy was going to be. I think you probably knew immediately what your strategy was when you started it. Is that right?
Well, when I started, because I had a background in stand-up and I was in LA and I was getting comedians I knew and some actors. And I knew I just wanted to build something. It was on an internet radio station.
Okay.
And I just started was getting tired of having comedians I knew. So I just started reaching out to successful actors, and I started getting them. I was getting character actors, and then I started getting musicians. I became good friends with Jason Aldean's drummer, and he got Liberty DeVito and Carmine Appice. And all of a sudden, I'm interviewing all these people, and the studio closes, so I started doing it out of my house where you Skype, and I moved back east. So now where you see me right now is where I do my podcast. I have my hat rack behind me, Potsy from Happy Days, yelled at me because he said my hat rack was messy.
Scott
But
Baio? You mean Scott Baio? He's friends with Scott Baio?
yeah, well, I was no Anson Williams who plays
Oh,
podcast.
Anson. I'm thinking of the kid. You're right. You're right. I should know that. Yep.
He yelled at me about my hats. So
Wow.
I still this it's my little converted closet I do my show in.
Funny as a crutch, Rich. Right? Yeah, I know all those quotes. Oh, that's incredible. All right. Well, first of all, what's wrong with having comedians on? There's nothing wrong with making people laugh, and because you felt they were maybe competing with you. You decided to go to the comedic route yourself. And how did that come to be?
No, I just had comics on the beginning because they were good, and I still have comedians amazingly. I mean, occasionally, I wanted to get bigger acts. And the comedian. I mean, I'll get a bigger comedian, but it was a matter of I wanted to branch out and I wanted to learn how to interview people. Comedians, after back in the day in Philadelphia, you do a gig, you meet at a diner, and we would just BS all night.
Okay.
It's easy to talk to comedians. I wanted to talk to people I didn't know who I knew their work, and I was, I'd have them come in. I had Ed Asner come to the studio, and I was intimidated, man. I was like, I'm sitting there.
You look like him, kind of. You guys look like you could have been brothers.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Uncle Tune from the
Yeah. Wow. He came to our area. I mean, I'm in New England. He came to Rhode Island to do a Christmas film about 5 years ago. I know he's since passed on. But how did you, I mean, we're going to profile you too. I'm going to talk about your childhood and everything. You obviously have an incredible career going. How did you end up reaching out to so many of these big people? You've interviewed a lot of big name people. I think probably more than anyone I've had on my show so far. But you tell me.
Thank you. I've done a lot. What I did was I just use it. My background, my degree's in business. I learned how to network.
Okay.
That's what I would do. I would meet an actor and they liked me. So I would say, hey, can you, if they like you say, can you recommend this person? And most of the times they'll say yes. So I started getting all these actors. And once you get
all right, I got a quick question right off the bat. Just say I get all these big actors. How did you do it? Did you reach out to them online? Was it word of mouth? Well,
Facebook,
yep.
instant messages, Twitter, word of mouth, then PR people. Yep. You just send it out and you hope one comes back. You can't get your feelings hurt. They say no, and move on to someone else. Because as you know, there's tons of guests out there.
Yeah, there are. It's absolutely, I'll never run out of guests, but it's pretty cool how you've done that. Okay. Let's talk. All right. Where did you go to school and get that business degree? You mentioned, is that college?
Yeah, I went to a small state school. Now it's a university called Stockton State College in New Jersey.
Okay.
Down near Atlantic City. Right there, 10 minutes from Atlantic City.
Okay. Well, you're south of there now, aren't you? You're closer to Philadelphia.
Yeah, I'm closer to Philadelphia. I'm about an hour from Atlantic City now.
Okay, all right. So tell me about your childhood. Where did you grow up? How did you? I mean, I'm guessing you had a pretty interesting childhood. You obviously are a confident guy, and I'm hunching that you probably that way as a kid. So talk about that. What did you aspire to?
I was shy as a kid. I'm legally blind in one eye, so I've had a lazy eye. I've had a lazy eye all my life. So some kids picked on me, so I learned a defense mechanism to make people laugh. Like a lot of kids do. And then I just was, I grew in and I became popular. I was never A-list. I was maybe B- list or C list. And I was a kid who I never was a class clown, but I would make people laugh because it was always going on my mind. But I was a good kid. I didn't really get in trouble.
Yep.
I was an average athlete. I was like third string in football.
Wow.
I sat the bench and track. I didn't really play, but and then I went to college and I blossomed.
Okay, where did you go to? Did you grow up in New Jersey?
Yeah, I grew up in Cherry Hill, New Jersey.
Oh, you grew up in the town you're still in now. So what was the move to LA about? How'd that come to? What was that all about? Tell me about that.
Well, I was doing comedy when I got out of college. About 2 years after I was out of college, I was on the road doing comedy. Stand-up comedy. And I was living in North Jersey with my ex-wife. Yep. And I said, we have to go to the West Coast. Went to the West Coast just to get out. I was tired of this area. And I sort of got away from comedy, but then when I got divorced, I said, screw it, I'm going to LA. So I moved to LA and I just did some comedy there, done some different acting jobs, and it was good. Then you just get tired of it.
Oh, so why did you think to go in LA? I mean, was your goal to be a comedian, an actor, or both? And why? I mean, I would think if you went out to LA, you wanted to get into acting. That's usually what people do, isn't it? Well, you tell me.
I wanted to get into writing too. I've done some writing. I wanted to get some writing. I was doing stand-up there. As I said, at my hands, I was a hand model. I've been on NCIS, Westworld, these hands.
Hands, like George Costanza in that Seinfeld episode? Oh, no kidding. I didn't think they really had those. Wow.
Yeah, you'd go in, You send a picture to the casting agent, they call you in, and you're sitting there, and the second unit comes in, and you moved your hand like this, or I was on Westworld, I was going like this, because the actor, they don't want to pay the actor all that money if it's an extra day work. So yeah, it's an actual job. I
Wow.
was just weird gigs like that. There's so many weird gigs out there.
Wow,
But
I guess. And that was in LA, right?
yeah, it was in LA.
Wow, I should go out there because I won a contest. Oh, actually, sorry, check that. I didn't win it, but you know what I mean, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway.
That is
So,
that is the best Seinfeld episode ever, by the way.
yeah, right. Okay, I agree with you. I guess I can't argue with that. I mean, but we don't want to go too far on that topic unless, that's a show for another day. But I'm sure people are buzzing already listening to that little bit of dialogue. All right. So did you start your podcast in LA or in Jersey or sort of halfway in between? How did that go?
Started it in LA 12 years ago. I met
Okay.
a guy. I met a guy who owned an internet radio station, and people said he'd be good. I went in. I started getting a half hour for the guest and a half
Okay.
hour for music, and then I got good numbers. I was getting like 40,000 listeners,
Wow.
and so he said, "Just do an hour, do your guests," and that's when I started getting the better guests, because when you tell someone I'm getting this many listeners, and I would record 2 hours every Tuesday. I'd record from 11:30 to 12:30 and 12:45 to 1:45. I do a 15-minute break. The show had to go an hour. If I had a bad guest, I had to milk it, man. I had to just sit there, because sometimes you get guests they may be a little boring. They don't want to talk a lot, and but that's it. I had no interview experience before that, and it was great. It was a great learning experience.
I guess it was, and I know what you're talking about. No, there's no such thing as a bad guest. What there is that every guest. Some guests are more challenging than others because they don't have a lot to say. They're not big talkers, and I know what that's like too, because I've had guests on my show like that. That's where the art of conversation comes in handy, where where you don't even think about who the guest is. You think about trying to make the conversation as interesting as possible. And that's where if you can like, it's a skill to hone. Everything takes practice. You just do it, and if you do it long enough, you get pretty good at it. And I think we both have, obviously. But it looks like you've really gotten some big names on your podcast. Did you reach out to all the people that you ever got? Did you reach out to them? Did somebody else recommend them? Or was there a combination, or what?
I've reached out to a lot, but I've interviewed people. Well, Ed Asner. I'll tell you how I get Ed Asner.
Yeah, how'd you get Ed?
I interviewed this guy named James Dumont, who's an actor.
Okay.
I hit him up on Facebook. His PR guy got in touch with me, so I booked him. So his PR came and liked the way I interviewed. So
Okay.
later I said, "Who else do you handle?" And he gave me a list, and he said Ed Asner. Now I'm thinking, there's no way in hell I'm getting Ed Asner.
I'm
But I
sure.
sent an email and I say, "Can I have Ed Asner?" A week later, there's Ed Asner walking into the studio as Sharon Lawrence walked out. That was a star-studded day for me.
Wow. And you had Potsy, and you had all kinds. I mean, I've seen some of the people. I hope that at some point they'll want to do my show. How did you find me exactly? Because you reached out to me. I guess you saw some of my interviews with certain people.
Yeah, and I know Chuck Shute. I met
Yeah.
Chuck. I met
Okay.
Chuck a while ago when he started out. We had mutual friends. One of my friends was on his show, and I just reached out to him and I said, "Hey, you know what?" Oh, he said it was a fun time. I said, "All right, well, I don't want to go do Harrison's show. I want to do topic time, baby, topic time.
Yeah.
I want to hear that. I want to hear that Boston accent. I have cousins from Grafton,
Grafton, Mass, or Grafton,
Yeah.
Vermont? Because there's a Grafton,
Grafton,
Vermont.
Mass. Grafton, Mass.
I have a cousin who's from New Hampshire. I think you may have heard of her, Sarah Silverman.
Well, yes, I do. I've heard of her.
Have you-
Her sister? I saw you posted about her sister, who's does some acting too.
Yes, but have you ever interviewed either of them or had a chance to?
No, I haven't. I have not reached out to Sarah. I think I may have reached out to Lisa a few years, like 10 years ago.
Lisa,
She's-
you mean Laura?
Laura, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
She was friends with an actress I know, and I know this woman Rose Abdu. I know her husband, who's a comedy writer, very well.
Okay.
But yeah, so I reached out, but he didn't hear anything. And once again, you go, all right, well, people get busy. Some people don't want to do interviews either.
That's true. But do you have contact infos with a lot of actors now? I mean, are actors reaching out? Has any actor ever reached out to you, any major star, to do an interview? And I know that if not, that's fine. But I'm just trying to think. I mean, let's face it, it is all about networking. So even if you talk to someone that's not big, or if you talk to enough people that have somehow made connections like you have, sooner or later, somebody else that's a bigger person is going to see that and say, that looks like an interesting opportunity too. Why don't we, let's see if we can reach out to this person and talk to him. Or, I mean, does that work like that with you too?
Yeah, I get pitched by a lot of PR companies, and
Okay.
some you want to book, some you don't. And I always sit there, I'm 59.
Okay.
I want 80s musicians. I want classic rock. I don't know about new music. I want actors who are 45 and up because I've grown up watching them or I've known their work. So I've gotten reached out. I had a guy, I've had one actor help me out. I asked this guy if he knew Patrick Fabian from Better Call Saul. And Patrick called me and goes, I'll do your show. And since then, he's done it 3 times. When the series ended, Better Call Saul ended. Patrick was on, I had him on the show a week later. So I get some people reaching out. You get people, and as I said, I sent a message to the original bassist from the Sex Pistols.
Wow.
He did my show, and I said, listen, you're friends with the drummer from Blondie. Can you get him on my show? And he goes,
Okay.
I'll ask him. And then Clem Burke from Blondie came on. So yeah, I mean, I ask if I get along with a guest, because a lot of times I'll banter with them for like an hour or 45 minutes after I stop recording. And I'll say, hey man, if you know anybody you think would be good, send them my way. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but it doesn't change your relationship with them because they're saying, hey, we had fun with Steve for an hour. So that's cool.
Okay. Now you mentioned PR companies. Are you affiliated with those? Do they get you guests too?
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
I'll be honest with PR companies. The PR companies for musicians are a lot easier than actors. I get turned down by actors, PR people, so that's why I just go with the actors themselves. They don't even respond to me. Musicians, their PR people on generally are very good, and
Yeah.
if they turn you down, they'll be nice. They're not interested right now. They can't do it. So that's yeah. So it's a matter of PR people I've gotten to know, and it's a tough job because there's a lot of shows out there. And they're getting constantly pelleted by requests for their guests.
Yeah, I understand. Well, right, exactly. So how many PR companies have you worked with so far? And I assume you still are, right, or not?
Yeah, I've dealt with a bunch, a few in LA, a few in New York,
Okay.
some in the Midwest. I go through what I'll do is I'll go to the website and I'll look if I want a band, let's say, or a musician. And if it
Okay.
lists their PR person, I'll send that person an email. I'll say, listen, here's what my show's about. Here's who's been on. Can you do it? For actors, I go through IMDb Pro, which is a
Right.
database.
I
And
know I'm on there too. You may
yeah,
have, yeah.
I sit there and I'll go for managers or I mean I just got turned down for an actor today because some actors they're not talking they were told not to talk during the strike. I had a friend of mine's on the new CSI and he had to cancel. He felt awful. He said, Steve, my manager said I can't do it. And this was
Oh,
just when the strike started. And I understand that. That's why it's but a lot of the actors now are saying, we're going to talk because they want to tell people about why they're striking. And I mean, it's not going to affect their career. It's going to do better for their career because it's more people saying, "Oh, well, watch their old show and they'll get a residual check."
okay. Well, last week I had a couple of guys out in Hollywood on as guests that have this film company called Endless Imagination Productions, and I said to them, I said, now that the strike's going on, does this give more opportunities to you guys? Because these guys are independent filmmakers. They're not the big cheeses yet. Hopefully they will be. One of them does voiceovers. The other one just, is a film script writer, and he's an actor too. And they said, yeah, it might, present an you got to look at the glasses being half empty or half full, and somehow this strike might present opportunities for smaller businesses like theirs to prosper. So I would think that would give guys like us more opportunities to talk to actors. Now, actors that are on strike are not. If some of the times, if they're big actors, the managers say you can't talk to the press like we are. But the small ones, the ones that are kind of getting screwed in a bad way by the strike, they're the ones that might want to get on a show like ours and tell their story because then it seems like the majority of these actors aren't making the kind of money that the big ones do. It's only a small minority that do, right?
Oh yeah, it's amazing. What they make. The whole industry has changed,
Yeah.
and what they did with the actors now is you get residuals from shows. Well, it used to be those residuals would go towards your yearly income, towards your benefits. You have to
Yep.
make a
Yep.
certain amount of money, but now those residuals don't count. Well, if you're a 70 or 75-year-old actor, there's not going to be $30,000 worth of work for you because they don't make as much. So that's the problem. They're just they're It's used to be Hollywood was all about the actor. Now it's all about big corporations. It's about business. It's
Yeah,
not
yeah.
show business. Like, the stuff we used to watch, Close Up Mr. Mill, stuff like that. That's what Hollywood, the old Hollywood, it's changed though. Actors used to be the king and writers, and now it's the corporations that are taking over and streaming, and it's hurting all the writers. Because I've had a lot of TV writers on. I've had Seinfeld writers on. I had the guy who created Everyone Loves Raymond on my show.
Okay.
And this is, they have, it's getting harder for writers now too, because everything's changing.
Where's Ronald Reagan when you need him?
Yeah.
Wow. All right. Now I noticed that the other night you posted on Facebook that you're still a stand-up comedian too. You were doing a gig the other night down there, weren't you?
Yeah, I do a gig about every 3 or 4 months. I played a place about a few months ago called City Winery. It's a big chain. I played in
Yeah, yeah,
Philadelphia.
yeah. That's what I was. I saw that.
A good friend of mine is Joe Matarese. He's done Letterman a few times. I was his first boss out of high school, and he took over my apartment in North Jersey. So he'll say, "You want to open?" I go, "Yeah," because I know I'm known in the area. People come out. Well, the other night where you saw me, I played this pizza place, and it held 60 people, and 30 were there to see me. And I had to do a 25-minute set, which I hadn't been on stage in a few months. And once you get back there, it flows back. And I just had fun. And it's pressure when there's people there, because if you don't do a good job, they're going to say, "We thought you were funny, Steve." But, it's pressure, but I
Well,
did well.
it looked like the people in the audience were cracking up, which is exactly what you want. You felt it. You felt that it was working.
Yeah, I had fun, and it was good energy, and it was fun. Whenever I get back on stage, I enjoy it. And then people go, "You should do this more. You always do good." And I'm like, "Yeah, you know what? I don't feel like on a Saturday night, I don't feel like driving an hour and a half. I'd rather just hang out, watch a ball game, or have dinner with my wife. I don't, it's like I don't want to deal with that. It's like you drive,
Yeah, yeah, it's true.
get there, and you're like, "What? I got to pay for gas. You're not paying me that much." So I do local shows. If someone says a local show, I'm there in a second. If it's less than 25 minutes, I'm there. But I don't feel like going over the bridge into Philly. Philly's not that safe anymore.
Oh, I
And
know.
so, yeah.
I know. Well, it seems like you're in demand, though. That's pretty impressive. And you always have, and like me, you always have people to interview. But I mean, you have name some of the people you've interviewed that I would know. Obviously, you've interviewed Anson Williams. Who else have you got? I've seen pictures, but I can't remember. I know that
David Duchovny.
David Duchovny, and I think Chuck interviewed him too.
Yeah. Steven Van Zandt.
Okay.
Um, uh, God, there's some Ed Asner,
Ed Asner, obviously.
Willie Garson, Patrick Fabian, Nia Vardalos, who's an Oscar nominee, musicians, guys, old school guys from, the Zombies
Oh
and
yeah.
the Animals. I've interviewed 4
Amazing they're
Springsteen.
still alive after all these
I know.
decades. That's great.
And yeah, I interviewed 4 members of the E Street Band for Springsteen.
Yep.
The
What
list
about
goes
Springsteen?
on.
Have you ever interviewed him?
No, I want to try to get him, man. I keep sent. I got turned down. I forgot they were going on tour. I got a flat no from Max Weinberg's people,
Oh,
and
okay.
and I never get response from their base. But now because I have 4, I might get him. But it's just the list goes on. I've done so many that you forget. I had Tommy Chong. Tommy Chong. I thought
These Cheech and Chong, unbelievable.
oh,
Oh
he was
man.
he was on for an hour and 45 minutes, and I was like, I couldn't get him off. I was like, I only feel like you do it for half an hour.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah, he kept going, and he's sitting there.
How's that for an imitation? Pretty good, huh?
That was good. That was good. I remember my older brother listened to the White. The White.
He's 80 freaking years old, and he's still him and Cheech are still at it 50 freaking years later. Unbelievable.
And Tommy Chong's like 83.
Yeah, I know
It's
he's over
amazing.
80. I know that. That is so cool that they're still. I mean, I remember that song "Earache My Eye" from night. You were
Oh,
a
yeah.
Boy, I'd love to get those guys on. Why didn't Cheech come on with them? Aren't they still together as a team?
No, I mean they'll do things together. They have completely different lives.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah, and then Tommy had gone to jail, and then
Oh, really? That's too bad.
for selling bombs online. But then Cheech did his thing, and they get together every once in a while. And so yeah, I mean I've had so many people that I watched on TV, or I watched, heard their music, and that's what makes it great, and what I've found out is, as I said, I think I figured out, I've had 25 or 26 members of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame on my show.
Wow.
I've had Oscar winners, Emmy winners, and I'll be honest, I have not met one jerk. Every one of my guests has always been nice and professional, and it's amazing because people think, oh, they're Hollywood, and I go, no, you don't know. They're all just like us, man. They're working. They got, unless you're, like you said, unless you're a big star making all the money, you still got to audition. People who have Oscars still have to audition.
That's
You
true.
still have to do that stuff, and people don't understand what it's like for them. And they're all humble. And I think, as like you're a good host, and you're
Thank
taking
you.
time to talk to people. We appreciate that. Any guest should appreciate the host, and any guest who walks in and is a jerk, it's not right. Like,
And any host should appreciate the guests too. I've had some clunker guests myself, and I don't. And even if they aggravate me, some of them have. I'm always going to be grateful for them for showing up and doing it, or doing like you're doing by Zoom. Either way, it's still, they're doing my show, and I appreciate it because they're part of the game now. Part of my Topic Time Nation, as I call it. Okay, well,
I'm part of Topic Time Nation now, so that's
you're
good.
welcome. And I hope now just to let you know, we're under 5 minutes. I hope you had fun talking to me, and I hope you don't think I'm a jerk. At least not as I do the show. In real life, you might. I mean, a lot of people. I have to admit, I'm not. The funny thing is that I have autism, and I'm not the most socially connected person around. A lot of people can't stand me. I'm being honest here. But I shovel that under the rug for every show. I try to.
I have a friend named Keith Reza who has autism. He's a comedian. He has a podcast too.
Okay.
And he's a great guy. I help him with guests sometimes. He'll send me messages, and it's good. And the bottom line is, you have autism, but you're doing it.
That's
it's
right.
like, there's people who are just like walking down the street who are big mouths, and they're afraid to do what we do. So that's what's great.
I know it took me decades to realize that I had the ability to do this. I never would have believed 20 years ago that I would be. All right. Well, that having been said, if you know anybody, any of your famous people, any of you not famous people that that want to do a great interview with me, you have my digits. Have them hit me up. We'll get them on either by Zoom or in person. This is a lovely area, as you can see behind me. This is a local pond. I have a green screen, and I'm sure you know what that is.
Right.
This is the town of Easton, Massachusetts. I don't know if you've been in New England, if at all, or if you know this area. I've been down your way. I've been to Philadelphia. I had a dream to be a sportscaster in 1987, and I went down and did a sportscasting seminar at Princeton, and part of that included going into the vet where the Phillies played. Now that it's Lincoln Park or whatever. And I got to be in the press box for about 3 innings of a game, and then we covered college basketball. We covered some high school basketball kids that were being scouted by the best college coaches in the country. But this here is, this is northeastern Massachusetts. It's a quiet community, and I'd love to have people. I love in-person interviews, but we can go by Zoom, as you can see. So you did have fun with me, right? Just making sure.
It was great. I enjoyed it. I appreciate you having me on, man.
I appreciate you reaching out. Now, like I said at the beginning, what I want you to do is just look at your unit and just give a few shouts out to people. Anybody famous, we'll condense them, and then we'll wrap the show up with my music the way we started it. So go ahead.
I want to give out a shout out to my friends, the friends in the band, the Hooters. They're touring with Rick Springfield right now. They've been very supportive of me. And I want to give a shout out to Patrick Fabian from Better Call Saul, who's been great. And my best bud, Rich Redmond, who is Jason Aldean's drummer, who has helped me got a lot of guests. And I helped him start a podcast. And to my wife, because my wife puts up with my stuff and she puts up with me babbling on. So it's good.
Any chance you could get me Rick Springfield as a guest? By Zoom?
I just got turned down. Got turned down by him. I got turned down before his tour. And the lady, I think, irritated her. I think the lady was irritated.
All you gotta do is take Jesse's girl away from him, and then he'll be at your mercy. Right?
Exactly.
All right, Steve, you did a great job. I'm going to ask one favor. Once we wrap the show up, would you stick around? And my tech guy, I'll take some pics from Facebook, and I'll tag you, and then you can tag me if you want. That would be really cool. And then we'll edit the show next week, and it will be up online, and we'll share it with the world nonstop. All right, Steve, great job. All right, folks, we're going to wrap the show up now. See you next time with another incredible guest. Signing off, snapping on.